Okay. And welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Chronicles of Fitness. I am your host, Coach Kat, and today I am really excited. I have a special guest in the studio with me, Renee. Sahyoun. I totally forgot. She literally told me 10 seconds ago. Or AKA Renee Armstrong.
That's right.
I'm fangirling a little bit because I've been following Renee on Instagram since we just worked out,
6 years ago.
Renee is, I don't want to say fitness influencer, but she's someone in the fitness industry who I have looked up to, followed, and taken a lot of interest in what she does in her life over the last 6 years.
That's very kind.
Oh, it's so exciting. And now she's in the studio with me, and we're going to talk about her journey in the fitness industry, among other things. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being
exciting.
here. So I think we'll just jump in and start at the very beginning. We'll just go back to your very first experience with fitness, which I'm going to let you take that away.
I grew up as a professional dancer, so I was working within the industry from about age 16. I studied at a performing arts high school in both year 11 and 12, and then went on to tertiary study to further my career in the industry. So I was lucky enough to spend, my early 20s and late teens traveling both the country and the world doing what I loved. I was always very sporty and I guess you could say fit. I'd never had any issues with weight or food, and funnily enough, the kind of industry that I was in, which was more like the commercial side of dance, is filled with junk food, and it wasn't rare for me between a show to have a Red Bull and a bag of snakes or something like that. So I'd never experienced any form of like clean eating, or despite what people would think about the dancing world, in the commercial world, it's nothing like that at all.
Really?
No, not at all. Like we enjoy, going out for steak and chips and all that kind of stuff. So I did that until I was about 24. And at the time, what sort of ended my career was I was living in Singapore, and I had definitely developed some kind of, I don't want to say an eating disorder, but it was definitely some kind of disordered eating. I'd had a really bad breakup around that time, and I just didn't have the coping skills to get through that breakup at the time. Some deficits in my personality and my emotional development that I just couldn't move forward with my life. And as with all eating disorders, it comes from somewhere different. It comes from a place of trauma or unhappiness or covering up something else. And for me, that's what happened. So I was living in Singapore, and at the time I'd wanted to lose a little bit of weight, so I started dieting at about 61, 62 kilos, and towards the end of my contract I was about 49 kilos.
Stop it.
Yeah. So what I did to get down to that weight was I created all of these barriers and rules and restrictions around my eating. So, first I became, I increased my exercise, and then from that I started to feel good, and I was getting, validation of other people, which was, of course, ultimately what I was after. And then from there, I became a vegetarian, and then from there, I took it even further, and I became a vegan, but not a vegan in the way of, just not eating animal products. I basically just was eating salad and vegetables and over-exercising, and just rule after rule, and disguising this disorder with these, I'm a vegan, or I don't eat that. And so I was in Singapore, I got hospitalized.
Did you?
Yeah. And I think people imagine an eating disorder as, some, a psychotic person sitting there counting their food out. And I wasn't like that at all. Like, I was friendly and successful and still the extrovert that I am now, and I was still having a great time, and I was still working successfully and getting money in the bank and ticking all these boxes, but I was dealing with some really dark times within myself, and the way that I was dealing with those kinds of pain was through training. And it's only now that I look back that I can acknowledge what was going on, but at the time I was like, I don't get it, I don't know why I'm getting so skinny or but upon reflection, obviously, I know why. So yeah, I got hospitalised. My kidneys were struggling to flush out fluids. So I had extreme fluid retention, basically from like my belly button down to my feet. Yeah, and just I was like, I don't know what's going on. You know, I've had an anaphylactic like reaction to some adverse MSG or something in this whatever I've eaten. I'm in an Asian country. You know, I'm allergic to something. Just excuses as to why this is happening. But the bottom line was my body was suffering.
Yeah.
So I remember I bought a bikini and I took a photo of it and of me in this bikini and I sent it to my mum and she was like, I'm really worried about you, like I need you to get on a plane and come home. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, what's wrong? Like you're so thin, like where have you gone? And I think that started to make me realise like I think there's something wrong with me, you know, I think I've got some issues. So I finished my contract in Singapore, I came back home and I'd had saved up a bit of money and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have some time out. I'm not going to take on a contract or another dancing role. I'm just going to sit tight and, you know, maybe stop trying to fix things with other things and just work out what the bloody hell's going on with me, you know, and why I'm doing this. And I had a back injury that was always lingering around and I thought, you know, I'm going to use this time to just get into strength training. I'm going to stop doing so much cardio and running and these bodyweight workouts that I was making up and having way too much mesomorph and whatever other pre-workout I was addicted to.
Oh, yeah.
And I started strength training at Clean Health in the city.
Yeah.
And I was seeing a PT there 4 days a week.
Wow.
Yep. And I was already qualified as a personal trainer myself. And after being there, I think for about 6 months, the owner asked me, did I want a job? They were looking for female trainers. And I thought, you know what, like maybe this is it. Like maybe I'm done with the entertainment industry and I'm going to start doing this. I still had massive issues around food, except it had just morphed into something else. So I wasn't vegan anymore. I was eating a more standard bodybuilding diet at the time. And from there, that's what started my introduction into bodybuilding.
Right, okay. Did you take the job?
I did. I took the job. You know, you only know what you know at the time, and although I had a great time working there and I learned a lot, I'm glad that I moved on from that when I did.
Yep. And did you then go on to fitness first?
I did. So I started competing in bodybuilding.
Yep.
I started off in the INBA and, you know, I did really well in that, and then having a background in entertainment and performing, like I fell straight into that. I was already very disciplined with my diet and, you know, I still definitely had disordered eating patterns, and I started competing in the IFBB. I took my business up to Bondi Platinum Fitness first, and I guess I kind of got known as the comp girl.
Yeah.
And that was my niche up there, and you know, I started prepping people for shows the way I had been prepping for shows, which looking back now was not something that I'm proud of, but I did what I knew at the time, you know, and I can openly be here and say today that there's no way I would coach a client or prep for a show the way I would prep someone now. I wouldn't never prep anyone for a show now. That's a whole different subject. But I was just basically doing what I knew.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing about this industry is that you only know what you know. You know, it's not like there's a monetary system as to you need to do X, Y, and Z to start practicing as a personal trainer. It's a very simple process, and next thing you know, there's people putting more trust in you than what they would in a GP. So, yeah, that was my journey to fitness first.
Yes, I want to park that subject and come back to that one.
Yeah,
I need to write myself a note.
Or bookmark it.
Yeah, bookmark that. I want to come back and talk about that. But your journey onto the stage, was that bikini or was that fitness model?
I did, so in the IFBB it was, I don't know what it's called now, but it was bikini, IFBB bikini.
Okay.
So I think I competed in about maybe 3 or 4 IFBB shows. And then in my last show, I think it was at the Arnold's down in Melbourne. And after that, I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? What was the decision?
I think to be honest, I hated competing. I have never been someone that enjoyed the soloist side of things. Like even when I was dancing, even as a kid with athletics or swimming, although I was great at it, I didn't enjoy the pressure of doing things alone. You know, I was always one to enjoy the relay, or when I was dancing, I loved the chorus numbers. And although I always had the ability, I just never liked doing things solo. It made me nervous and frightened and a bit uncomfortable. So for me to be competing, it was definitely pushing that part of me that I didn't really like. And also I was still really struggling with parts of my personality, like, you know, handling rejection and dealing with a body image issue that I clearly had. And I was tired and I was hating the training, and it was not what I had gotten into the industry, I guess, for. And also I started to realize that what I was doing was unhealthy. Like I hadn't had a period in 2 years. And there were all of these massive signs that I was tired and burnt out and unhealthy. And at the time it just came to a head, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I was on the stage at the Arnold's, and in my mind, I knew that there was no way I could have trained any harder for that show. There's no way I could have dieted any harder. I couldn't have presented myself any better, and I didn't place. And it was at that time I realized I am so sick of being judged by the way that I look, and this is not doing me any justice. And my business was suffering. You know, I was doing, you know, 4 or 5 sessions a day, and that was it. Like, you know, I had capped my income for the sake of competing, and it just was not worth it. It was, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't want to do it. And I knew that I was sick. Like, I knew that there was something going on with my eating that was not normal. Like, I couldn't go out to breakfast. I would go out to breakfast with my partner at the time, and I'd have a coffee, and he'd be there eating this huge breakfast, and I would be like, I've got to get back to the room and have my, you know, cauliflower and my sweet potato and my chicken, you know, meal 1 of 6 of the day, eating the same thing. And I know that people don't necessarily prep like that anymore, but going back 6 years ago, like I said, I only knew what I knew, and that's how I prepped for shows.
And it's not healthy, and it's not normal. And as much as any person who competes will tell you that it's a normal thing to miss out on a dinner or a breakfast, to go back, or even take your own meals with you. I recently saw a very Insta-famous person give the recommendation of take your own meals out to a restaurant if you go out with friends, because then you're not going to blow out your calories. What the fuck?
It's... and you know what? Like, I stand here and I own it, and I probably was one of those people back in the day. Like, I totally would have said to my client, like, harden up, you know, like, and it's, you know, I'm not saying like I'm ashamed, but at the time, it is your only focus, and if that's what it's going to take, and if that's what the girl next to you is going to be doing, then that's what you do. And you get tunnel vision, and I guess if you're surrounded by people that are doing the same thing, and, you know, attached to that, I had this name now, like I was this girl that was competing and doing well, and I had, you know, I had this little girl group happening up at Bondi Platinum Fitness First of girls that also wanted to compete. So I kind of was like, I need to keep doing this, because this is my thing now. Like, I put myself in this pigeonhole, and now I need to sustain it.
I mean, it's just, the thing is that people who compete have that relationship with food, and that's fine if you want to do it for you, but to then push that opinion onto other people who maybe aren't competing, that's where I have a problem with people in the fitness industry, because I had a very similar journey to you. I also competed. I competed once. It was fucking hell. I got adrenal fatigue from it. I was asleep for the next year, literally.
Yeah,
I slept like I remember I was so sick at one point that the only outing I would have was my partner would take me down to the beach. I'd walk half the length of the beach, Coogee Beach, which is like 300 metres, and I couldn't walk anymore. He'd have to take me home. I was sleeping 18 hours a day from adrenal fatigue because I competed.
Yeah,
So
it's sad.
Yeah.
Like it's actually really, really sad. And like to be honest, there are girls that can compete. There are girls that can maintain a lower body fat percentage than others and not, but towards the end, it's not healthy.
Yes.
And there are so many other things that you can train for that don't have to take it to that next level, you know, like you don't have to be the leanest person, or you don't have to, you know, get up on stage in heels and a bikini to tick a box. And there are some girls that can do it, and they do it in a way that
it's their job.
It's their job. That's right. It's their job. They don't have to go and coach or go to the office. Like their job is to eat, sleep, and train.
Correct.
And that's what they get paid for. And that is the unrealistic thing that gets portrayed, is that if she can do it, I can do it. Hang on a second. She gets paid to do it.
This is her life.
That's her life. This is not your life. You have a husband. You have a full-time job. You don't have people paying for your food. You don't have sponsorships paying for your travel and all of these things. Like these things cost money. They're going to put strain on your relationship. They're going to put strain on your career. They're going to put strain on your job and everything else that you've got going on. So I think that whole level of comparison needs to have a little bit of context of she can do it because she has all of these other things.
That's her job. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think that the general population can acknowledge that. They just see the pretty side of it, and it's like, but you don't have what she has.
Yes, correct. I totally agree. And I think from a person competing, it's their responsibility to make that clear.
Yeah.
And that I don't see that ever. I don't see anyone ever saying, this is my job. I am trained to eat and sleep and live life this way.
Yeah.
I can train you, but you shouldn't be training like me. But that message is not being portrayed.
No, it's getting lost.
It's getting totally lost.
Yeah.
We could go on about this.
I know.
But let's move on. After bikini, you went into strength training.
Yeah, so after I stopped competing, it was actually pretty easy for me to walk away from it, to be honest.
Yeah.
At that, like I was like, yep, done.
Sounds like you were done with it.
Yeah, I was done, and you know, I'm grateful that I was a little bit older. So by this point, I was about 28.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't. I'd had a bit more experience and life experience under my belt, and from there, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go back and train in an athletic way and do things that I love. And I started reading heaps and heaps of stuff about reverse dieting and, you know, tracking macros and flexible dieting. And all of a sudden I had this sense of like freedom and I'm going to be all right. Like I'm going to make it through this. And I started following different types of people on social media, ones that had, I guess, paved the way for me to get out of this stigma that I had created for myself. And I started to focus more on strength training and powerlifting, and I just wanted to get stronger. I wanted to get my period back. I was fine with putting on a little bit of weight, and on that, I guess, after I competed and I started eating, I guess, still very clean, but just more calories and training less, my body weight overshot. So I kind of overcompensated.
Yep.
So I put on, you know, more weight than what I was, you know, when I was like 61 kilos. I probably went up to about 63, 64 kilos. And I was okay with it, you know, because for the first time I was sleeping through the night.
Yep.
I wasn't waking up every 2 hours. I was able to enjoy my training. Like I remember being in training sessions going, man, like I love this. Like this is what it feels like, and sharing these things with my clients, like, have you tried this strength program, and let's work on getting you this and that, and it became less and less about aesthetics and more about performance. So I was very happy to leave that in my past, and that's when I guess for the first time in probably 4 or 5 years that I can say that I didn't have issues with food anymore. So I tracked my calories and my macros to reverse diet out of the show and out of that whole bodybuilding time. And then I made a promise to myself that I will not track 1 calorie for a year.
Okay.
And I did. And in that year, I got my cycle back.
Great.
Yeah, so that was, for me, the biggest positive feedback that for the first time in a long time, I was healthy. And it was a normal, natural period. I wasn't on the pill. I wasn't, wasn't using any other form of hormonal contraception, and I was a normal, healthy girl again.
Yeah. A lot of people think that, oh, it's fine, I don't have my period.
Oh, it was a badge of honor, to be fair. Like, I was like, yeah, man, like, I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, go me. And, you know, in your early, mid-20s, like, you don't think about having kids.
No.
And then later, I was like, I actually really want to be a mum one day.
Yeah.
You know, and having kids is really important to me, and I need to stop pretending that this doesn't matter, because it does matter. And I'm lucky. Like, mine came back relatively easy. It was simple for me. I reduced like training sessions. I still had a pretty high intensity and high load in my sessions, but it wasn't as frequent. I reduced cardio and just increased calories, and I was a textbook version of how to get your period back. Happened for me, and I'm totally grateful, because I know that some girls aren't so lucky.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so you continued training this strength
So I started going more along the lines of strength, and that's how I I was always so scared that I was going to lose this business that I had, and I didn't lose anything. It just evolved.
Yeah.
As I evolved as a coach, and as I evolved as, I guess, an athlete, then so too did my clients. And when I was healthy, I can say that my business took off.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I was Renee. And those that know me know I'm happy, I'm outgoing, I'm energetic, I'm empathetic. Like, I'm the person that will, if you say that you like Mars bars, I'll bring you a Mars bar to your next session.
Yeah.
Or if one of my clients is sick, I'll find them a recipe to cook when they're ill. Like, that's who I am, and that's the type of person I am. And whilst I was not looking after myself, I wasn't able to look after my clients as I should have. And my service increased, my value increased, and I was able to give people what they were paying for, and my business took off. And pretty much from then, I've had a very successful personal training business.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Which now has morphed. So you went from Bondi Platinum to Camperdown.
Yep, so I went to Camperdown, helped them, that's a great gym there, and I helped them set up their powerlifting section with my partner at the time, and we helped them grow that part of that business, and then outgrew that space. And I'd been working in the area at that time for about 18 months, so it made sense for me to stay in that area. So we went up the road to Stanmore, and the whole journey of opening Squad Gym, which was from start to finish about 8 months.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a really crazy story. So we left Camperdown Fitness and needed somewhere to trade. So we went down to a PT studio down the road and said to them, can we hire this space for you to train our PT clients out of? In the interim, we're building a commercial gym.
Okay.
And they said, okay, cool. So we worked out of there for about 3 or 4 months, just doing PT and just keeping our clients, and they would go and train at their commercial gym outside of their sessions, and then just do their sessions with us. And then we got kicked out of there because the arrangement wasn't working anymore, and our gym still wasn't ready to be opened, and we still had to make money. So we went to Kennards and hired a storage unit.
Stop it.
Yep, and I traded out of a storage unit which was 12 square meters. I traded out of there for 4 months.
You bloody legend.
All
love
I
that.
had was a stack of plates. I had a bench press. I had a squat rack that had a pull-up station.
That's fantastic.
And that's all I had. And in the meantime, I was, trying to find hundreds of thousands of dollars to open this gym.
Yeah.
Trying to get things through council.
Yeah.
Trying to store all of this equipment that had just come from Watson on a ship that was, in an ideal world, supposed to come straight from the dock, onto the truck. The containers get delivered out the front and we load the equipment in. That didn't happen. Trying to find places to store that. It was like a huge process and very expensive and very stressful. Which is, like every small business owner, they've got a story behind it. So then when I opened Squad Gym, that's when I really my business was now something different.
Yeah.
It had not, I wasn't just a PT in somebody else's gym now.
You're a business owner.
I'm a business owner, so, not just operating my PT clients, but I now am the accountant. I have to run all of that kind of stuff. I look after the staff, so everything to do with operations, from the contractors with the cleaners, the coaches, the members, repairs, council issues, whenever there are some. Yep, coffees,
I saw your
shakes.
Insta story yesterday of you cleaning the coffee machine.
If you can put me on a Lamazocco machine, I can make you a coffee.
That's amazing.
So everything, it went from just coaching clients to now, oh my God, like I've got big responsibilities, and our space is big and we're in a very expensive area and we have huge overheads. Like I remember the first time I got our power bill, it was $4,500 for the quarter.
Oh!
And I was like, what do you mean?
Help!
Yeah, I was like, how? Like, how does this, there's got to be an error, like, I'm not that sure how this has even happened. Like, I don't even have cardio equipment. Like, and I just was, all of a sudden, this like, it became a labor of love, and it's like, I got so many bills to pay.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was 3 years ago. And so from then, the business has changed a lot, and, people have come and gone, and I've grown a lot. And, definitely in the past 2 years, I have really found my feet as a woman, as a business owner, as a daughter, as a friend, as a wife, like as a coach. Like I am confident in who I am, and thank God, because I'm approaching my mid-30s, so
yeah,
it would seem about right that I find this place in my life.
It's so amazing. I remember watching Insta stories or Facebook videos, I'm not sure, of you unpacking all your equipment years ago.
Yeah, unpacking, like we had to build bathrooms, like I had to put in six toilets, 6 showers, a urinal, there were 2 physio rooms, I built a cafe in there.
So amazing.
Like I remember painting that. I remember we got a quote for it to be painted, and the quote came back like 15 grand. And by that point I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't even get a second job. I don't even have time to get a second job. And I was standing in the middle of the space with this roller, paint in my hair, paint all over my clothes, and I was like, I can't do it. I just don't think it's ever gonna open.
Wow.
I'm never gonna finish this.
And now look at you.
Now, yeah, totally, like it was worth everything.
What's been your biggest lesson, I suppose, as a business owner?
Business owner and just as a human, I think it's the same thing. Like, you need to trust your instinct, and you don't need to see the fire to know that there's a fire. So if you can smell the smoke, get the hell out of there. And I as a person have made errors in the past of being too flexible with the needs of others, in terms of like business partners and staff, and making excuses and all that kind of jazz. And now I know that in any environment, a professional environment, a personal environment, that low-level behaviour is low-level behaviour.
Yep.
And if you tolerate it, it will continue to happen.
Okay.
So my philosophy now in owning the business is that the culture is number one.
Yeah.
And my members are loved. Everyone knows who each other is. There's a huge sense of community, and it starts at the top.
Yeah.
It starts with the owner. It starts with leading by example, having an impeccable work ethic, not being too good to pick up the clips,
yep.
Not being too good to go and clean the toilets, restock the toilet paper, the hand towels. It means doing whatever it takes to make that space amazing. And I'm not naive to the fact that I've opened up a gym in a saturated market, and everybody has the right to go to a competitor or another gym. And I have my biggest competitor down the road, and I have another competitor about 10 doors up, and people have options. And so in order to keep your business growing and thriving, you need to make sure that you're giving them something that they can't get somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's the ownership of the business, and it comes from the staff.
That's amazing. And what's the biggest, I suppose, lesson you would focus on teaching your members and your PT clients now?
That if you can't see yourself doing it long term, don't bother starting.
Yep.
So, and that goes across like the way they train and the way that they eat. My philosophy on that has evolved immensely over time. So, now I introduce a lot of flexible dieting to, I would say, probably 90% of my clients. Some people aren't into it, like they're not really interested in having an app and logging their food. They're more inclined to have a meal plan and to help me, to help them design a meal plan based around what they're already doing, just making a few changes. But for the 95% of my clients, I have them doing flexible dieting.
Yeah.
And that is also introduced in a way of, you are not going to be doing this long term.
No, it's just
an educational process.
Correct.
So the same as you're not going to go to university for the rest of your life,
yep.
but you are going to go for a period of time, and then you're going to learn the skills,
yep.
and then you're going to go into the real world and you're going to apply those skills.
Yep.
And that's how I explain flexible dieting. To be fair, I feel like calorie counting and nutritional content of food should be something that's taught at school.
Yes.
We shouldn't be learning this stuff as adults.
I totally agree.
It's bizarre that someone can't tell you if they're overeating or if they're undereating. We should know these things.
But that goes back to the old food pyramid where we were told we needed to have 6 to 8 servings of pasta and fucking cereal a day. What the fuck was that?
And now we have an obesity epidemic.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's exactly what I tell my clients. It's an education tool. You need to re-educate yourself on food because we weren't taught.
Yeah, and then from there you take that and then you let it go and you move on to your life.
Yes.
So I've got a challenge happening at the moment at Squad Gym, and there's a few little things that they're not allowed to do, like they're not allowed to weigh food in front of their kids.
Yes.
Do not pull some scales out in front of children.
Yes.
Don't do that. It's not necessary to do that. And there's other rules, like they have a challenge within a challenge, they had to include something that they have considered naughty or out of bounds when they're in their dieting phase, and they need to include that in their week of eating.
Awesome.
Whether they want to do it once or twice or every day, but just to remove that black and white thinking surrounding food and good and bad and all of the labels that come with a lifetime of being told how to eat. We're going to remove that, and calories are a budget.
Yep.
How you choose to spend them is up to you. Provided that you hit these certain numbers, it's with you to sort out.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Taken away, I have clients say to me, oh, I had pizza last night. I'm like, and? As long as it fit your macros,
it doesn't matter.
There's no good food or bad food.
Yeah.
It is not punishment or reward. We are not dogs.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work like that. And it's our job to re-educate people on that, I suppose. I'm sorry.
But it's like we touched on before, there's still, even in the, I guess the medical side of things, like there's so much stupid information being passed on to people, like surrounding food. And I had someone the other day come, they go, because I've been to the doctor and they said that the best thing for me to do is just to cut the carbohydrates out.
Seriously?
I'm like, why? And like, oh yeah, she didn't really explain why, just said that I should just cut out carbs.
What the fuck?
And I'm like, okay, so are you going to do that? She's like, oh, well, the doctor said I should. It's just not having that understanding of why you would do that.
No, and on that subject, doctors that prescribe Duramine. So I take a Duramine at the pub on a Friday night, and I was in Salinas down at the Coogee Bay Hotel.
Having the best time.
I was having a wild time.
Yeah, I've got a client who now like really struggles to lose weight, and it was like probably like 4 weeks into training together, and she was doing everything I was telling her to do, and like we kind of weren't really getting results, and I'm like, I feel like there's something in your history or something going on. And she goes, oh, I don't know if I told you this, but I used to take a lot of Duramine. And I'm like,
no, you didn't tell me, babe.
I'm like, yeah, that's definitely gonna have something to do with this, you know. I go, why did you do that? She goes, oh, the doctor just prescribed it, to help treat my PCOS with some other things, and just said I needed to get the weight off. So I was on Duramine, and I was like, okay, well that would have been fun. She goes, yeah, I didn't really sleep that much, but I go, okay, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah, so Duramine, for our listeners, if you're not sure what it is actually, I think, one compound away from an amphetamine.
Yeah.
So it's one compound away from speed, basically.
Yeah.
It is prescribed by doctors for obese people to basically stop eating because it's like they're on speed.
Appetite zero.
And the sweats, anxiety at an all-time high.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for those of you who have never taken any drugs, when you take speed, you feel like you've had about 18 shots of coffee in one go. It's like you're buzzing, right? And so that's what Duramine is like. And imagine being overweight, going to the doctor and having them say, here, just take this pill.
And you'll be fine.
And you'll be fine.
You might feel a bit jittery, but you'll be fine.
A bit jittery.
But you'll be fine.
Oh, wow. So that, I think, is a good segue onto the fitness industry.
Yes, in general.
Yeah, in general.
What is it?
What is it? Give me your opinion on the fitness industry. I mean, how do I even?
Well, my only kind of exposure to the fitness industry these days is through social media. Like,
yes.
I've definitely isolated myself in my little squad bubble.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of like it. Like, there's not much chance that you'll see me at any form of expo or anything like that. It's not really my thing.
Yeah.
The fitness industry is definitely very different to what it was when I first came into it. Like, obviously social media has turned it into a money-making machine through, extraordinary exposure and widespread of personalities doing things within the industry, but it's definitely becoming, in my opinion, a little bit less health based.
Yes.
And probably a little bit more glamour, and I guess a little bit more sexual and
pornography.
Yeah.
Basically. So it was just the other week, I just decided to look at a couple of Instagram pages. And I was like, if I didn't know this person or who they were or what they were about, I would look at their page and I would think that they were a cover girl. Or like those motorcycle calendar girls or...
What, Hot Fours?
Yeah. But then they sell programs. So
I know.
What about it has anything to do with, just because you look good in a bikini, what's that got to do with health and fitness? I don't understand.
It is bizarre, and there are some girls that are doing both and doing them well.
Oh, 100%.
But that's a very small percentage. Then there's a whole other type, I guess, of account that I know for a fact is not really going to add much benefit to anyone's health and fitness at all. It's basically just a display of someone's body, really, as opposed to adding much value and service and information as to how it can help them.
Yes, and that's the whole thing. Going back to what we touched on earlier, what is it about what you look like that makes you think that just because you look good that you can help other people? Like, anyone can go and get a certificate as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
No, it's not.
It takes 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see is these people who are now selling fitness programs, saying that they're helping people, show how much experience they have.
The experience, like the best form of experience is being face to face with clients.
Correct.
Like before you can even think about having an online business that has a little bit of integrity and brains behind it, is you need to spend time, and this is my opinion, and people are more than able to argue with me. You need to spend time on a gym floor.
100%.
With general population people.
Yes.
Not just, do a bit of a comp prep, get a pro card, release an online platform. Where you will learn the most is working with real life people that have real life challenges. And look, I think society needs to also take some responsibility in that you get what you pay for.
100%.
If you are going to pay $49 US for 10 weeks of training, you tell me honestly, how much of that do you think is being designed around you?
And I think the general population also need to take responsibility to the fact that they're the ones who have made these people popular. So they're encouraging this lack of expertise in the field. I think that, like you said, the whole gym floor thing, what people don't understand is as a personal trainer, you might prepare a session in your head for, Mary. She's coming in at 6 a.m. and you've prepared a session. Mary walks in, she's twisted her ankle, or Mary walks in and she's got period pain, or Mary walks in, she's got a headache, or she's got a sore neck or whatever. And you on the spot have to change that session around her and her whatever is happening at that.
As well as liaise with some form of professional, i.e. a chiropractor, and work out how the hell you guys are going to work together in fixing this injury for her.
Correct.
My opinion of a personal trainer is to bridge the gap between a physician and the general population. So for example, with a lot of my clients, I will go to their physio or chiro appointment with them, and the chiro will just spit words at them and they don't understand, and then I sit there and break it all down into layman's terms, and I'll go, so what he's saying is, your hips are doing this, it's coming from your foot, that's why your knee's hurting, and they go, okay, I understand. And that is what a coach is, and that's what you pay for, and you aren't going to get that paying $50 for 10 weeks of training.
No.
So society needs to take some responsibility in that whole aspect of you are going to get what you pay for.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And I think something which social media has done, it's encouraged people to think that fitness is all about looking good. Because these girls are bikini people who are always posting pictures in their bikini, therefore that's what fitness is about. When my experience over the last 6.5 years of being a coach, 5% of people care about bikini. What about those who want to move? What about those who just need to be more flexible, or who have some sort of disease, or who have some sort of the list is endless. Looking good and focusing on the fact that you have to get certain results is a tiny percentage of what fitness is about.
Absolutely.
Fucking tiny.
Like, or when you've got a couple that comes to you and they said, we really want to fall pregnant, but we're just both not healthy enough.
Exactly.
Like, that's something to be proud of and to be a part of. Like, that's the kind of stuff in your career that gets you excited, because when that does happen, you'll know that you've been a part of that. I went to 2 of my clients got married this week, and Both of them with me in the past year have lost 25 kilos each.
Amazing.
Now, when I first met the bride, she was nervous and insecure and couldn't keep eye contact, and it was not uncommon for her to break down in tears in every one of our training sessions in our first, few months of training. But the other day, I watched her walk down the aisle in this plunging neck, sleeveless, tight, beautiful dress, and she looked at me and she goes, "Thank you."
I've got goosebumps.
I know. She goes, "Thank you." And it's not because she's a better person because she's skinnier.
No.
It's because she is happy now.
Yeah.
And she's not super, super thin, she's still 70 plus kilos, but she is proud and has confidence, and she doesn't cry in her sessions when I try and teach her something that she can't do. It's evolved her as a person, and that kind of experience is what a coaching and a personal training experience should be like.
Yes, exactly. And from an online point of view, although that is hard to get that personal experience across, you can still provide some sort of program that is going to be specific, personalized, and for their specific goals.
I'm not against online training at all. I've got probably 5 online clients, but I definitely don't have a online platform that's been developed around templates and calculators and all of that kind of stuff. My career is very much a face-to-face business, and that's by choice as well. There was a time when I definitely could have gone, all right, I'm going to build this thing and I'm going to run with it now while I can. But as my personality, I know that there's no way I could sustain an online business. It's just not who I am. I need that human interaction and that outlet, and I'm good at it. And I feel like I would be selling myself short if I was to ever sit down and transform my business into 100% online. Yeah.
Well, like I said to you earlier, I've just recently gone online and I'm so depressed, so lonely. So I'm like you, I need that people exposure daily.
I don't know if you know Alice Round.
No, of her, yeah.
So we often chat. I think she's probably out of a lot of women that I've met, she for me has always been a huge inspiration, and I've seen what she does with her online clients and it's good.
Yeah.
She does it really, really well, but she will be the first person to say to you, it's good, but it's expensive and you get what you pay for.
Yes.
That is a good online platform.
Yes.
It's still personable, it's still tailored to that person. They're still able to contact you whenever they need to. There's still that level of touch. It's not too generic and out in the Uber world of the internet. There's still that element of personal attached to it.
And I assume that she's obviously got a lot of experience in the field.
Yes, she has I think she's a nutritionist. She's got an exercise science degree. She also spent about, I think, 5 or 6 years on a gym floor.
Yes.
She has 10, 11 years of industry experience. She is someone who does comp prep properly. And she is someone that I will go, you know what, there's not that many people that do it properly, and she does it properly with her clients.
See, that's great. And I fully support and love people in the industry who have got experience, the knowledge, the know-how, and
the smarts
behind it. And that I really encourage and I really love. But what I don't really love is what we were talking about earlier. Is
I did it this way, now you're going to do it this way.
Correct. And that stems back to what we were discussing earlier with the whole competing thing. It's not their job. It's not their job. It's not the general population's job to look good in a bikini.
And there's an element of responsibility for you as a coach that your client is more likely to take your advice over a medical professional.
Yes.
Which is huge. So if you're going to be dishing out this kind of information as to how someone should eat and how they should live their life and what supplements they should take, you need to take a big bit of duty of care and understand that if something happens to that person, it's on you. because they are going to listen to you, even if they don't feel great doing it. If you tell them that it works, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that are recovering from, you know, some kind of late after effects of extreme dieting and bad information that was passed on to them from coaches.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why it really needs to be drilled home to everybody who's a consumer of health and fitness, that they need to do their research on who they're hiring. They need to do their research. They need to ask for experience, ask for qualifications, ask to see not just before and after photos. Because any monkey can put you on a 1,200 calorie diet and get you to lose 10 kilos in 5 weeks or whatever.
The challenge is, can I see them 6 months later?
Correct. You know,
are you still training this person?
Yes, correct. That's the thing, isn't it? Are you still training this person? Are they healthy? Are they happy? Have they got
you're not training them. How did it end?
Yeah, exactly.
Good questions to ask.
Yeah, I love that. And on that note, I'll ask you one more question. What's your biggest piece of advice for our listeners? And then we'll wrap it up.
I think you need to be, if you're looking at having a career in this industry, I can only advise on the type of career that I've had. You need to be smart, and not just with your craft. You need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to be empathetic. You need to have tough skin, and you also need to be flexible in knowing that over time your business may change, and rather than beating a dead dog, it's okay to evolve and to constantly learn, and pick your mentors very carefully.
Yes.
You know, if there's someone that's doing something that you want and doing it with integrity, then that's the type of person that you should have mentoring you.
Yeah, get a mentor. That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's alright, it is hot in here.
I told you it was going to get hot. It's like a little sweatbox, this podcast studio. Like, it starts off okay, and then after about 20 minutes...
I'm getting the upper lip sweater.
Yeah. And then when you stand up, your butt sticks to the seat, and open the door, it's like a breath of fresh air.
Oh. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I feel really lucky to have had this opportunity to chat and
This has been great.
I guess, reach more people. It's always a really great feeling to be able to do that.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's it, listeners. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please make sure you subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And stay tuned for the next episode coming soon.
Done.
That was great.
Oh, thanks.
You're like a natural.
A chat